Do you like how I strategically found an image where I could like fit my face right where Ash is supposed to be? Isn't that
I
like
love it.
really clever?
Yeah, that's great.
I actually thought you weren't going to dress up today. I thought you were just tricking me. And I was like, wow.
No, I love Halloween, man. I love it. If I had more time, if I wasn't so busy, I would be more elaborate. I just kind of had this stuff kind of kicking around. So,
well, I actually thought I was like, like, man, this guy's going to be dressed to the nines. Like you're going to be like fully decked out. I'm going to look like, hey, everybody, I'm Asian Funk. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm joined by a really awesome guest. He is a decorated Marvel in DC cover artist, inker, colorist, writer, filmmaker, director. But more importantly, he is going to be the future second place winner of this costume contest we're having today. Kaare Andrews, thank you for being here.
You forgot Master of the Universe.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to pronounce your name correct. Well, that's a good flex.
Got to go back to the gym. It's like getting a little small.
Well, I mean, if you got to you need to work the angle. If you need to put your arm closer to the there. See, now you look jacked. So first question, can you tell me some of the really worst pronunciations that people have butchered your name? Like,
well, there's never a bad pronunciation, but there is a variety of pronunciations. So I go by Kari. The real way you pronounce my name is Kura in Norwegian. But I've heard everything from Carrie, Corey, Care, Kaare, Gary, Care.
Oh, Gary's good.
Corey. I basically, if anything's close, I just assume it's for me, which has gotten me into trouble too, just answering to any deviations. Sometimes I've even at a comic convention, I'll have sat down beside a friend of mine, Carrie Nord, and then it gets real confusing because it's like a Carrie and a Kari, side by side, and then I'm just trained to react to Carrie, so it's constantly.
I think Care. Yeah, that was when I first saw your name on the cover. I was like, Care. It's got to be Care.
But I get that a lot. I also get people who, especially when I first started, thought I was probably a lady, a girl.
Yes, guilty.
And
then not only was I surprised that you were a dude, but it was also not how I thought your name was pronounced. So that was like a double surprise.
It must have been a big surprise to learn I was Master of the Universe.
Yes, yeah. I'm still getting over that. But yeah, man, thank you for being here.
It's
super
fun.
excited.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And thank you for dressing up. I'm really glad that I'm not the only one.
But we kind of splurged because we weren't gonna, Halloween was kind of be a little diminished this year. Ourselves a spirit animatronic.
That's right.
The Spirit Store, the Nightcrawler. So it's called the Nightcrawler. It's like this thing. It's this guy on all fours, and then he goes his eyes light up.
I thought you literally meant there was a Nightcrawler Halloween thing, and I was like,
not the X-Men. This is Spirit Halloween Stores Nightcrawler animatronic.
Gotcha. Yes. Do you want to talk about your costume really quick, just in case there are people who aren't familiar with He-Man?
Well, this is He-Man. This is the reboot He-Man reboot. He has all the power, a little less masculine to fit in today's world today's modern world. A little, he's moderately masculine. He's more of a person man.
Yeah, he's just a man.
Person man, and he's got, instead of a sort of power, he's got a sort of moderation. And he goes around the galaxy moderating quells and disturbances with his powers of moderation, just to not offend anyone, not make anyone uncomfortable. He keeps his shirt on. It's the modern age.
Does your sword come out, or is that part of the vest?
Oh, no, this sword. The sword of moderation never comes out. That would be too triggering. We must keep the sword of moderation.
I have to ask. I mean, this is a costume contest, and just so you know, because we agreed that we were going to let the comments determine who had the best costume today.
Yes.
If I win, I'm going to give a random subscriber a bunch of comic books.
Oh, wow.
You want to tell me about your YouTube channel since you have one?
Well, I kind of dabble on YouTube. I don't, in all honesty, I don't spend a lot of time doing the YouTube, but it's fun. So I look at YouTube probably the way your like dad looks at rec hockey. You know, like he'll jump out there on the ice a couple
Rikaki,
times.
huh?
Well, in Canada, we play a lot of hockey. And when you get
Oh,
too old
geez.
to play real hockey and you're like a dad, you play rec hockey, recreational hockey until your hips go out. And then there's
And
no
then
hockey.
and then you just play video games, right?
You play video games. But I love YouTube. Like I listen to it all. The way I used to listen to DVD commentaries all the time when I drew. And that was
Oh,
partly because I
mm,
was always interested in filmmaking and I was doing filmmaking. And it's just fun. I love to learn and take in stuff. But those commentaries don't really even make them anymore. And so
no.
what I found is as opposed to watching a movie or a TV show or something dramatic, I just like to listen to people talk. And I like to,
Mm. Is
activate some kind of learning center in my brain, whether it's anything from psychology to ancient mysteries to whatever that the YouTube. It's just fun. You
Oh
just
yeah,
you're on
it's
the
a
go.
endless source of everything.
Yeah.
Is that's how you get in the zone? You listen to like just interviews, podcasts, stuff like just talking, people
Yeah.
talking.
If
If
I'm
you're drawing,
drawing, then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I need to activate that part of my brain. I get distracted and I need to activate that part of my brain so I can draw freely. And if I'm writing, like I
Mm,
can't listen to any of that. There's no way. So I'll put on like if I'm writing, I can't even listen to songs with words. It's
yeah,
just score, pure
yeah, yeah,
score.
yeah. Do you did you always want to be a director even before you became a comic book artist, or did the directing come after you were
Well,
in
when I
comics?
was a kid, I used to do both, right? So I used to make little movies. I had a Super 8 camera, make movies,
Mm.
draw comics, build models, make movie magic, do stunts, like all
Oh yeah, wow. You're like a
paint.
J.J. Abrams slash uh, Jackie Chan, since you
Yeah, I loved all
stunts.
that. I loved all the stuff. I have in my kindergarten report card. I have the two things I'd want to be as either a stuntman or a policeman. And I think because a policeman is the real life version of a stuntman.
Yes, yes.
Uh, but
You're
it's
like,
always the best. Go
sorry,
ahead.
what?
Well, especially if you're Jackie Chan, then the policeman is the stuntman in many
That's
levels.
right. Then it's a police story, right?
Exactly. But I was always I was always the best artist in my class. I loved to draw, and I loved comic books. I just consumed them. I mean, comic books are just, I think people kind of forget, um, or they're too young to know. But when I was a kid, like there were superhero movies were like the worst movies that people would make. They were cheap.
Totally.
No one liked them. Every now and then you'd get like, every now and then you'd get like, a Tim Burton Batman, which was
Sure, sure.
amazing, but it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
not
yeah.
the norm. The big
Yes,
movies were like the action movies. And so as a kid, you just like reading those comic books, you just desperately wanted people to understand that if you made these things in the movies, they would be so amazing.
yeah, yeah.
And then here we are today, and now it's kind of flipped. It's like the superhero movies are the biggest movies around,
Totally.
and that whole rich action genre, which I still love, uh, has kind of slipped away a little bit. It's kind of been pushed down a little bit because the superhero movies incorporate the action movies.
Yes.
So I I don't know. I've always loved this stuff, and then at a certain point, the world is like these are different things, and you have to choose one of them. Maybe you can do one of them.
Mhm.
Maybe you're just an accountant. Nothing wrong with accounts,
Yeah, yeah.
but I chose comics first and found some success, and then moved to Vancouver and bought some film gear and started directing short films and built up a separate film career to my comic book career. So now I have
Yeah,
kind of this weird like Bo Jackson life where I do comics and directing
totally.
simultaneously, but they never interact. It's a weird, very strange. Even though superhero movies have taken over pop culture, I haven't found myself in a situation that really they mesh at
Yeah,
all.
yeah. Um, do you like you are my first movie director or like film director that I've interviewed.
Well, it's only up from here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's this is the basement level. You've got so much ahead of you. It's going to be a
I'm very
bright
excited.
future.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's totally cool. I actually didn't know you had a whole nother creative uh lifestyle or occupation.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny is before I directed my first film, I was already finding some success in comic books, and I had a lawyer in comic books who very nice guy, and he represented like top guys. Um, and he was like, if you really want to direct a movie, the way you do it is you become the next Frank Miller, and then they'll let you direct a movie. And the way I the way I approach life is just what what a journey that would, like, if that, it's that what a way around to do a thing. Like, oh, if you want to direct, if you want to do this job, become the best in the world at this job, and then they'll let you do this job. And I always look at it like, or I could just do this job right now, like
Right, right.
build both my
Yeah.
careers up at the same time. So that's what I've been doing. So I've directed a few features now, and I've been doing TV for a couple of years, and that's been a lot of fun. And right now I'm writing a new feature. We'll see where it goes. But it's kind of like just juggling this. Speaking of action movies, my last film, Sniper Assassin's End, came out this summer.
Oh yeah.
Tom Berenger and Chad Michael Collins, and it was like,
Wait, who?
so there was a famous action film when I was a teenager called Sniper.
Yes, Tom Berenger.
Tom Berenger, yeah.
Wait, is this a sequel? You made a sequel to that?
This is the 8th installment in the Sniper franchise of a film that I used to watch in high school. So it was really fun to jump in and take it. I mean, what other movies, like, this is a long time. Like, I went to high school a long time ago. Anyways, it was really a lot of fun, and we hit number 1 in iTunes this summer.
Wow. Oh, it's a streaming movie.
Well, it came out during the pandemic, so yeah, it's only ever, it hit some theaters in Japan and like Qatar.
Oh, wow.
But
wait, Qatar?
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, did you get to choose where it would go into theaters, or is there a separate company that decides where your movie would do best?
Yeah, that's Sony. Sony decides where to, how and when to release it. So it came out on
Wow.
iTunes, iTunes, Amazon, all the streamers in North America. Yeah,
that's cool. Well, congratulations. That's really awesome.
Oh, thanks. And then doing the comic book stuff, of course, and juggling them both.
How do you juggle all of that? Because I'm assuming those are using very different parts of your brain. Like, I'm assuming as a director, you're not just, you're managing people or directing people, but like when you're just, I'm assuming when you're drawing, it's a little more like cerebral, internal. You're not really interacting. There's no social aspect to it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, completely different jobs. I say it's like how firemen and policemen have, there is some overlap, but they're actually completely different jobs. Like, you couldn't throw a policeman in a squad car and expect him to arrest bad guys, but they're part of that same kind of general
right
idea of a job.
Yeah.
So same with comic books and movies. So with comic books, it's a very yin yang. Like, when I am drawing comic books, I'm by myself, completely alone in my studio all day, every day, just grinding out the pages. And it's fun and it's so creative and there's so much freedom. Even at a big company like Marvel, there's actually so much freedom in comic books because the teams are so small. Like, when I was doing Iron Fist, it was just me writing, penciling, inking, coloring. Like, that you can really do the whole thing as one man, if you so choose. But in film, it's the opposite, where you cannot do it as a one-man team. And even a small film like, Sniper Assassin's End was a very modest movie. There's still like, there's like 40 people on set or whatever.
Right.
And you're constantly around people all day. So when I'm drawing on my own, I'll sometimes feel like I'm missing life and want to interact with people and collaborate with people. And then when I'm on a film set, I will oftentimes yearn for being alone and just because every choice on a film set is it's a conversation, it's a collaboration, it's a trade-off. It's like working with people, working with their strengths. It's like last minute changes to budgets, and you lose the location, an actor gets sick. It's like there's so much compromise. Every day is just, the struggle is to deal with all those people. And then in comics, the struggle is to not deal with all those people. So I love going back and forth because it really, it keeps me feeling creative and, alive and not stuck.
Yeah. Well, because like, you're, as a director, people go to you for answers, and you're expected to have those answers, right? Or at least be able to guide them to the answer.
Well, that's the easiest part. The easiest part is having the answers when you're directing. The harder part is probably is dealing with the circumstances of the format. So, a smaller movie, you can only shoot for so long. You only have the location for so long. You can only afford so many cars to show up on the day. You can only afford so much background to shoot on the day.
Mm.
You can only shoot so many pages in the day. And then the more money you have, the more you can do, but then the greater the amount of input from like your executives, et cetera,
Yeah.
the committees start clamping down on you. So now you have different problems where you can do much more, but it's much more of a collaboration between the group. So
Yeah.
it's a trade-off. Whereas in comics, it's like the restriction in comics are all time. So when I'm filming something, I may not be able to afford that awesome location that I scouted, or I may lose it to weather or something and have to shoot something else instead, a two-hander in a room instead of, out in this amazing location, because we've lost budget reasons, really. And in comics, it's more time. So I could draw an amazing location, the most amazing locations as I could ever imagine it. But it takes a long time. So you can only do that in a comic book issue like a couple times. You can only spend like 2 days drawing a background, like maybe twice in a comic book. You don't want to, that doesn't propel the story.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
don't do it, then the comic book will read real thin. So you have to like budget your
Yeah.
time in comics. Like every character takes time, every background takes time, every panel takes time. And then if you're doing covers, I do a lot of covers too.
Yeah.
Then it's like, what's the medium? The medium takes time. So digital is fast, but if I want something more Drew Struzan-esque, if I want to use real
Yeah.
media, real airbrushes, real tools, I know it's going to slow down, but I know I'm going to achieve a result that I can't get digitally. And in actuality, a lot of people can't use those tools anymore. So I know inherently just by using an airbrush or using real paint on real paper, it will have a look that maybe right now some people can't achieve. Whereas when I first started drawing comic books, the way to do that was I was one of the first guys doing digital covers. So when I was doing digital covers, it was real fun because not a lot of people are doing them. I was one of the first to do them. And now it's the opposite where everyone's doing digital and now
Yeah.
not a lot of people
Yep.
are doing traditional. And it's like fun
Right.
for me to like, it's always fun to zig when the crowd is zagging.
I will say, I think the thing I enjoy the most about your work is that, one, I always don't know when it's yours because you have so many different styles. No, let me explain.
Oh,
I'm not.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah. I mean, even your signatures are different sometimes, but I think in terms of your style, you're able to um, draw and illustrate and paint in very different ways. And so, because I've seen your work, but I didn't always put it together that it was the same person. And so I think that's incredible.
Well, I mean, I've been always very aware of how my favorite artists got that way and the journeys they went. And my favorite artists generally have a look that they do. And I know in the world of any product, if you're Ferrari, you really only want to build Ferraris. You want to be known for Ferraris. You want to build you want somebody, they see the silhouette of a car, be like, oh, that's a Ferrari. I know what that is. I want that. The opposite way, if you're Ford, you probably don't want a car even like a Ferrari. You want something else, but you want the Ford name. I'm very aware that names and product, like there's a style that if you really want to build a career, it's like, here, get your look, find your look, develop that look, execute that look. You want people to know it's you just by a quick glance. Unfortunately, the way my brain works, I just get so bored. Like I just have never been able to just find a thing and just do a thing. So whether
Right.
it's doing comic books, whether it's penciling and writing, or penciling, writing, and inking, or penciling, writing, inking, coloring, or doing covers or interiors, or even directing or whatever, like I get juiced up by trying new things. And
Yeah.
if I want to try new techniques, I want to learn the airbrush. I want to learn how to 3D model. I want to learn how to do things. And I only have time to learn those things if there's a reason for it. So I'm constantly giving myself reasons to try new things. But there is an advantage. And the advantage is this: for an artist, you do your best work when you are fully in the moment, right? Like any athlete, any high performance athlete, any creative person will tell you that there's a zone that you can get into where you do your best work. And to get in the zone, this is what they say. There's been some research. You need a few things. One, it needs to be high risk, so it needs to have consequences.
Yep.
You need to be in the now, very present, and the high risk creates that present. and you need to be kind of like focused, but not focused on results, just focused in the moment. And what I found is if I'm doing a new thing, I'm so invested in the new thing, it really keeps me grounded in the now. And I don't worry so much about the results, which is kind of not true, because if I'm doing a new technique, I think I might fail. So I guess I am worried about the results, but I'm not obsessed about succeeding. I'm obsessed about the challenge of preventing failure. So it's like, it lets me just kind of ride that edge of like success and failure. And I think your best work is always when you're just on that razor edge of just crashing and burning and success. And the more you can generate your life to like run that razor edge, the better.
Do you mind if I share a slideshow with you? Is that okay?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
Okay.
I've also done a costume change here. You may not recognize me.
I know. Let me know when you see some of your work on screen.
I see my work.
Okay.
I see work. Cool. It's mine.
Yes. Awesome. So these are 3 pieces that you've worked on. And these are like the first 3 that I ever saw of your work. And I did not realize that these were all done by you.
Fries.
Yeah.
It's true. They were. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk about each one of these really quick for a split second?
Well, the cool thing about what you've chosen here is there's 3 different art methodologies. So the first to the left, this Deadpool hip hop variant cover, Wade number 1 is a very digital cover. Those are digital elements, photographic elements, painted into, painted over, integrated with text. It's a very, there's tech, I've applied textures over things. It's a very CG type style.
Yeah.
I've used Photoshop actions for the logo. I did the logo for that comic book. I like doing logos. I've actually did logos for all 3 of these comics, strangely enough. One of the things that I'm most proud of, but no one knows about generally is I often create the logos for my books at Marvel. They just let me do it. I don't know why.
Really? That is cool. I did not know that.
And I get paid my logo fee. It's not a lot, but it's.
Are you serious? Is that true?
Yeah. But I also love the graphic design when, growing up, I was very obsessed with the graphic design. So doing this CG cover was very fun for me. And I've got glows here. I'm using Photoshop in all its capacities. I'm using filters. I'm using painting. I'm using 3D. I'm using 2D. I'm using Photoshop actions. I'm using layer styles. I'm using all kinds of crazy stuff to do this thing you could never do just by hand on paper. And then the middle one, Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, that was the second oil painting of my life. And
really,
I've always wanted to do oil painting. And one of the reasons why I started drawing digitally was because I wanted to do oil painting, but I didn't have the money back then as a young art school punk to buy oil paints, which is kind of an expensive medium. But I did have a Wacom, and on that Wacom came Painter Classic, and there was an oil emulator. So I started painting digitally because I couldn't afford to paint in oil. So I've always wanted to do it. And this is like the first oil painting I ever did was a cover for Marvel Comics, and the second one I ever did was this cover for Marvel Comics. And it was just a chance to experiment with the medium, and it was I didn't have the right materials, but I just kind of muscled my way through. I often love to just muscle my way through art, and which I think is a more of a masculine, not in terms of like man or woman, but in terms of like style or archetype, right? So I think like masculine way to do art, and again, man or woman could be this way, but it's like to muscle through, just like push paint and just like push it out and raw, like just get it. And
I think it just caught my eye instantly, and like it was like instantly recognizable that like that everyone was in pain. And I was like, wow, that looks painful. Like just like the teeth kind of melting off, like just stuff like that. You don't really see that very often. So I don't know. It's just little things like that kind of, nice touches. So.
Well, here's the difference is when you are cartooning, what you are doing is you are creating replicable shapes and dolls and mannequins and patterns. So when you are like doing classic comic book cartooning, you are actually not drawing reality. You are drawing a representation of of reality, kind of like you're playing with dolls or playing with action figures. Like from panel to panel, generally comic book artists draw so fast they're just drawing these things out of their brain, or if there is reference, they're referencing them very loosely to like look at a Jack Kirby gun. They all look like these weird lasers, even if it's World War II military.
Yeah.
But when you're painting realistically, you're actually doing the opposite. You need reference, whether you're taking photos or scouring Google Images or whatever it is, because you are actually looking for surprises. So you are looking for the things you wouldn't expect. So maybe the way the light reflects off of your gums down here in that Captain America is a surprise. One surprise I still remember finding to this day was one of my very first painted covers. I found that the specular highlight of your tear duct could be brighter than the highlight in your eye.
Yeah.
It was a big surprise for me. And as soon as I did it on the cover, it was like, oh, it looks real. Like because again, why? Because it's a surprise and it's true. And if you can find those things, especially in photorealistic stuff, you can find those surprises that actually exist. The more of those you can get in there, the better.
Yeah.
The hard part is to try to translate to a panel to panel narrative of pushing up pages. It's almost impossible because just looking for those surprises takes time. The last cover you have here is Iron Fist, and it's the opposite, where that is cartooning. I mean, I did take some more just for, I think, just to mess around in the process. I did take a picture of myself trying to do this, but
I was going to say, do you use yourself as reference all the time? I mean,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. It doesn't matter if I'm drawing monsters or women or kids or whatever, men. Yeah, it's just it's so available. It's so available. And it used to be like when I used to have to get my analog camera pictures developed at like a store.
Yes.
So there was a period in time when I was painting realistic Spider-Man covers, when I would just get rolls of me in my underwear posed in my apartment developed at this store. You just get the strangest looks when I went to pick it up.
Because someone had to develop those and be like, this guy again.
Totally.
Oh man,
for sure. They were actually hilarious. And
that's
then
amazing.
Now it's just, I can do it in my studio with the digital camera, or sometimes just the camera on my computer, don't even
have to leave.
Exactly.
I love that story, man.
And this last one here, this Iron Fist one is more of a cartooning. These are replicable shapes that I could replicate this style throughout a whole book without much reference, but still some reference. And it was me trying to find an iconic, trying to create an iconic image that would survive. Sometimes when you approach a cover, like that, Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, that's a concept cover where it's like, I want to show our heroes in pain with our anti-hero Deadpool eviscerating them. That's a concept cover. Like, okay, I get the book. I want to read the book. Like, oh, how does this happen? What happens here?
Yeah.
But the digital cover for Wade here, this hip hop variant, it was an homage to a hip hop cover. So if you knew the cover it came from, you might respond to it. If you don't know the cover, it's just kind of a cool
exactly.
Image.
Right.
But it's not an iconic image. Like that image is like his back. It's a new thing. It's like got kung fu, but kung fu on his neck, which I thought it made me laugh.
Sneaky.
I don't know. But it's not iconic. And the middle cover is not iconic. But this last cover, sometimes I try to create an iconic cover, a cover that will summarize that character in a single shot, which is the power of art at sometimes. And for me, it was like trying to, again, this trick I fall into. What's a new way to do it, but a way that's true. And I had never seen. First of all, it's like, oh, I have to define Iron Fist. Yeah. Iron Fist is this character. His colors are green and yellow. And so if I reverse engineer that, how can I create something new? Take away green. No green in there. I didn't do it from the beginning. No, I don't want any green. No green. I want red. Blood.
Yeah.
Red. He's a fighter, right? He fights. I love martial arts. And then it was like, what's next? Well, Iron Fist, his fists are the thing. And that's what you remember. And what's a way to show the power of his chi fists, the chi in his fists, in a new way that I haven't seen before, but is true to who he is? And that's when I created this idea where you could see through his skin and see the glowing bones.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of my little bone glow, because I think it's now survived. Like, you want to, when you do these heroes you don't own, you take your swing at bat and you want to hit the ball so hard that someone 3 seasons from now remembers that hit. Like
Yep.
that's the goal. And so I don't think that happened with the first cover, Wade. The Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, I've seen that image in I've seen it tattooed on people's backs or whatever. Please, I mean, I like when you tattoo. I guess it's I feel honored, but it also makes me feel extremely uneasy with my art on your body forever.
Yeah. It's a compliment.
It's a compliment, but it's also like I'm responsible for this thing that will never wash off.
Yeah. Well, good thing I'm not going to talk about the tattoo I have. No,
and then
it's me. That's me. This interview's over.
That's the cover right on your chest. But I actually am very flattered when it happens, and it's happened a lot. But it's also it makes me like,
sure.
I know regret is coming at some point in your life, and I will be responsible for that regret. And then this Iron Fist thing, I really wanted to make an like a cover to remember that character, because that character, there's not many iconic representations of that character, and I wanted to create one. So I think I succeeded so far. I've seen that image a lot, and I think it's survived that process of like rinse and repeat new creators, rinse and repeat new creators, rinse and repeat new creators. But again, I think it's because it has both novelty and truth embedded in the representation of who he is as simply as possible.
How many versions, like how many drafts did you go through? How many poses before you figured that this one was it? Or was this just like you did it once and you're like, that's it?
Well, generally when I do covers, I give my editors three choices.
Mm-hmm.
And so the editor's always involved in the covers, and usually they pick the best ones. So there's a lot of artists who have this experience where we're like, my editor chose the layout I didn't even want to do. And I've always been the opinion of like, well, why did you send it to him? Because it's like
what were the other two then?
I think one was more of a kung fu, kind of a Bruce Lee hands thing that was a bit played, but I thought there was a new way to do it. And the other one was, I can't remember. I had a few different ones, but it was pretty clear this was the one. I was pretty sure it would get picked because it was,
it stood out.
Simple. It was so simple. And yeah, I thought, okay, that's good. And that's I mean, when you're working with a great editor, like, Axel Alonso was one of my favorite editors. He always, picks the best ones that I give him, or sometimes he'll come up with an idea or two of his own that spur me towards something really cool. So it is this weird dance that you have as a cover artist, where you are creating with your editor, in a weird way. But I always look at those three chances. Like I want to be happy if any of those three get picked. So it helps me. Oftentimes, by the time I hit that third layout, it's a new idea that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because if some cover artists just only submit one sketch and then they do it. Like you can totally do it that way at a certain level.
Sure.
But I like the process of like challenging myself to like do better. And so by the time I hit the third layout, either it's worse and it didn't work, or sometimes that's the magic one. And if I hadn't gone through that process of 3 layouts,
right,
boom, secret sauce. Sometimes the trap artist covers get into is they do like 20 layouts and be like, I want this cover to be so perfect. I'm going to give them all the options they want. And what I found is if you present an editor, especially if they're all good, 20 different good covers, it just overwhelms them and they no longer can choose. And then they start asking for things. And that's always a bad spot.
Yeah. I want another 20. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, well, it's like I like this part of this and this part of that. There's been this study. There's a study, consumerism study, where if you take a customer into like a TV store and there's only 3 TVs and that are available to buy, they pick one, they take it home, and you take the same person into a store with like 100 TVs. They pick one, they go home. There's actually greater satisfaction in that consumer who was limited in their selection because they feel more sure about what they chose.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you take someone who could have bought one of 100 TVs, when they get home, there's more of a feeling of like, oh, what if I had chosen number 87, or what if I had chosen number 2? It's like, so I find that same way with editors. I want to give them 3 strong choices, and then they'll feel good about it. I'll feel good about it.
Yeah.
Streamline.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that process. I'm very supportive of the idea of not giving too many choices and, doing 3. 3 seems like a good magic number, You know, one is like your first instinct, second one is like a tweak, and then the third one is just like a crazy idea. So
Yeah.
I,
Well, and often sometimes what happens too is you'll have an editor gives you an idea like, oh, what about this? And so that can be one of your three.
yeah, yeah.
Or the worst, here's the worst. Don't tell anyone. But the
Okay.
worst is when writers start giving cover ideas. It's the worst, and not because only,
Is
only
it
and
is it because, okay, so when you're doing covers, are you
yeah.
fully aware of the story of where it's going, or are you just told we need this character doing a really cool pose?
It depends. It depends on the situation. So sometimes they share scripts, or even maybe the issue. Maybe there's. I did a DC deceased or deceased cover.
Yeah, yeah.
I got to read 3 issues of the drawn book just to do my cover for #1. But the reason why the writers always give you the worst ideas, and ask any cover artist, I'm sure it's a shared experience, is only because the difference between words and a single image is a chasm. So the difference between
Mm.
words and graphic narrative is pretty close. Like sequential images telling a story. You know, you can tell a story in words, you can tell a story in pictures. You're telling a story, progressive, it moves forward, it changes over time. It's like, you know, you can bet details, you can do pacing, all that stuff. A single image, trying to describe a single image in words, um, to, to even get to the words, like the first thing we learn is people are to make marks on a wall, right? So you give a baby a
Yep.
crayon, they're going to draw things on the wall. So
Sure.
we have this embodied desire, need to create mark making. Words come later. So if a writer is giving me words to do a cover, like a cover idea, they're going to have some image in their mind as an untrained image maker, and then translate it into words. Those words are going to be written down, shared back to me, possibly through an editor. And then I'm going to read the words and then trying to recreate an image that has nothing to do with the image that created those words. There's
Hmm.
a chasm between the two. I mean, it
Yeah.
can work out, but generally a chasm. And you'll often get this from a writer. I'll give you an example. Like, okay, I've got Gambit. He's throwing playing cards at you. On each playing card is like, you know, one's Jean Grey, one's Wolverine, one's Puck, and they're all coming at you. And there's like, you know, there's a huge dinosaur in the background, and it's like, okay, so visually to try to represent this size of a character with a giant dinosaur in one cover image, it's just not going to work out. Like,
Mm.
and you would know as soon as you tried to draw it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you often get that. Like, I think a lot of great writers do draw a little bit. Like Mark Millar is a bit of an artist, even though he doesn't share that stuff. So, you know, I would much rather get like I've never had it. I'd much rather get like a cover sketch from a writer than a written out words. But
Mm-hmm.
generally, I will try to do, if I get one of those, I will try as hard as I can to do
To do
one,
that, yeah.
just
Yeah.
as
You
a,
give them what you want, and then you know, in the process, you're showing like your idea doesn't translate, but this is what it looks like, right?
well, it's not even that can be dangerous to be like, I'm going to show you why you're wrong. Like I actually try to make it right. So like when I direct actors, if I give them a crappy acting note, it's their job not necessarily to challenge the note, but to address the note in a way that makes what I said good. So, you know, you want to take that note and try to find some nugget in it that makes it work. And so I will try as hard as I can to, like, if I get a weird cover in words idea, I'll try as hard as I can to like draw the best version of that I could ever come up with. And maybe I surprise myself and maybe it's amazing. I want to give them the best opportunity to like make that happen. And then once that's done, I'll put it to the side, and it actually gives me more permission to come up with out of the box things. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's actually good. A writer will give me a weird idea, try as hard as I can do that. And then because I've done that so meticulously, spent so much energy trying to manifest that, I'll feel a swell of ideas and creativity for the next two. So sometimes it can be good.
Yeah. So my next question would be like, um, what happens when you're given the opportunity to do multiple variant covers, right? Is that a different challenge when now you have to come up with 4 different or several different images of the same character doing different things, but are consistent, but are still uniquely visual? Like, you know, now that you're not just doing one cover, you're doing 4. Can you talk about the process between? doing multiple covers in just one?
So I mean, drawing covers is a bit of a challenge. Like these covers specifically, this set, I did a three covers for Batman Beyond. I actually didn't know I was drawing 3 at a time. I think I knew I was drawing 1, and then I knew I was drawing 2 more. So the first one I did was the one on the far right. So that was a way for me to just try to do like a kind of a classic poster style image.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
not necessarily iconic like the Iron Fist, like not the one cover to remember that character forever cover, but more just like a full body poster image pinup, like something you could take. Often when I take my shot at a character, take my swing at a character, I want at least one like kind of full body shot that I can just be like, hey, here's a version of what I think about this character.
Yeah.
And then the following 2 were just kind of more ideas. This one was challenging, to be honest, because 2 things. One is I think I'm good at drawing, or I can be, I'm not always, but I can be good at drawing faces.
Okay.
And Batman Beyond doesn't have much of a face.
Yeah. Well, it's like a mask face, right? Like it's like a mouth on a mask.
Yeah. So then if I'm trying to like flex my art skills, what does that give me? It gives me anatomy to work with. It gives me pose. It gives me action. The other part is with Batman Beyond is his backgrounds are he has a future world.
Yeah.
So that can be like a high-tech Blade Runner mess, or if it's not, it should at least represent something that's high tech.
Yeah.
So
yeah, right. Like circuits or digital symbols. You're right. Neon lights.
Yeah. So I started to lean more into, so in order, I did the one on the right, the full body flying at you from the sky.
Yeah.
And then I did the kind of profile running, and then I did that last one standing. And by the time I had that last one standing, I had started to integrate some graphic design with like words and text.
Yeah. Very cool. Very matrixy.
Yeah, but it also felt like that's what it wanted to be like. And I think if I had done more, I probably would have leaned more into type and graphic design, because the character is so black and white, or sorry, black and red. It's I think that's how and futuristic, like that's how I started to think about it. Like, oh, I can design, like more design. Like I started off with kind of a more pose and the weird lights, and then I started getting into circuits, and then circuits and text. And glows. And I think if I had done more, I probably would have went even further in that direction, because it was just, I was just exploring.
Yeah. Well, is that what you do to kind of keep it interesting? Like you're constantly introducing new elements to something so that,
Yeah, there has to be a progression forward. And that forward can be turn any way, forward this way, forward that way, forward that way.
Yeah.
Strange.
Have you ever thought about being like a motivational speaker, or like a
No.
These
are some of my favorite. Posing with these Iron Fists is some of my favorites. I was going to say,
so do people not? Okay, I'm pretty sure you got a lot of Iron Fist fans, but like, do people ever come up to you and say like, do they ever say like, tell me something inspirational, or give me some motivational tips on whatever? Like, do people go to you for advice?
Oh no. I just do that. I just talk this nonsense all on my own. There's no need. I just haven't, there's no on switch. It's just rather there's no off switch. I just constantly like to babble about this stuff.
But there's no on switch.
There's no off switch. It's just on all the time. I love to babble about this stuff. I think that's why I love the YouTube, because it's the first time I've had a media. Well, I used to love the DVD commentaries because I could learn. I constantly learning and growing, and I've always liked school and learning new things. And YouTube, I'm constantly being introduced to new ideas and finding new ideas. It's like a drug for me. I'm like a crackhead with ideas. I want to know them.
That's really cool. I like that.
Or I'm putting Kitty Pryde's hand through her head.
I was gonna say, like, how did you come upon this cover? Like, was this like, I have this idea and I want to see if it'll pass and people will like it? Or was someone like, this is too weird? Is that, how does that creative process work sometimes for you?
I like to, again, like what's a thing I've never seen before, but it's a thing that's real. So Kitty Pryde, if you can phase through objects, can you phase through yourself? Then I thought it'd be like,
I have not seen anything like this since this. Like, I've never seen her do anything else like that. Right. It's like, it's a one-off. It's like, it's never been done again.
But it's something I would do if I had her powers.
Totally. Well,
Party
you know,
trick.
right. Well, you've seen the typical, you know, like her coming through a wall, right? Like you can obviously
Mhm.
you can do more than that, you
Yeah.
know. And it's this was refreshing. This was nice to see. Same thing with the Quicksilver. Like I like the idea that you're seeing. This is actually one of my favorite covers of all time. Is you're seeing his like it looks like he's going in a loop, but it could be also that you're just seeing like the last second of him, you know, behind him. But I like to think that this is he's running so fast, he's running in a circle.
Yeah,
What,
totally. Or like if you saw this as an animated image, he'd be
right. Yeah.
Looping. Yeah. So yeah, I like again. I hadn't seen that before, but there's always been this idea of like running so fast you can run around the world and come back to the same place you are.
Yes.
Like I've seen that a lot, but I've never seen that turned into a cover. So that was just me playing around. Yeah, I think that sense of play is something you really need to have when you do these covers. The other thing I liked in that first cover, the Kitty Pryde cover, is something I started doing a while ago, and that's like I really like to lean into. So if you know your inks in a printing process are CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and K for black.
Yep.
Then the most colorful color you could have on a cover is pure yellow, pure cyan, pure magenta, or pure black. And
Oh my God.
I love looking for ways to put in just pure 100% cyan, because in a printed image, that will be the brightest thing on the stands. And or cheat and put pure magenta, which looks kind of pink. But I love to cheat and just be like, oh, I can play this game. I can you want to print my rainbow of colors with only 4? Like
I'll give you 4. Yeah.
Here's 4. You know, I love doing that stuff. It just really gets me going. And then just again, just weird ideas.
Did they come back in and you're like, hey, just so you know, this is like pure magenta and pure cyan. Is that what like were they like, is that what you wanted?
Yeah, no one's ever said anything, but
that's interesting. I love that.
You know what? Part of what got me to do that was when I first started coloring Spider-Man. I forget on what. At the time there was the official Spider-Man colors, which was, I forget what the percentage was, but this CMYK level for his red, this CMYK level for his blue.
Yes.
That's what it is. And I was just, I was painting rendered images. So I kind of tried to do that, but I didn't have to, but it always felt to me like, oh, that's fun. Like, how can I play with that? Like, how can I play with these CMYK colors in a way that I haven't seen done before? And for me, that was part of like, oh, well, I often do like a yellow, even Iron Fist, a yellow, make sure it's yellow or, whatever that is. I look for ways to mess around.
Yeah. I love that. The idea of like just pushing it 100%, like, that's awesome. I love it. And then, the Spider-Man in the 90s, I thought it was really cool.
Well, McFarlane's one of my favorites of all time. And it was so fun. I had so much fun doing this cover, like just referencing his art, but not just his art, like that era. So I did some of I did the logo here. So I stole the logos from like Full House.
It's like Saved by the Bellish.
Saved by the Bell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nerf, like all kinds of.
Totally. Yeah. It looks great.
And then I treated the paper. In my perfect world, this would have been printed on a foil cover.
Yeah, it kind of has a holographic element. I didn't really notice that till just now.
So I used that holographic element. We didn't have holographic printing, but I embedded holographic effect.
Yes.
Over the whole cover, or almost the whole cover, to replicate that.
That's amazing, because that was big in the 90s. It's just holographic everything. That's incredible. I didn't notice that till just now. That's awesome.
And then in part of the holographic effect, I put 90s, and then I stole the cover design, the 4th all new collector's item. I think it was the first issue of Spider-Man, the Todd McFarlane relaunch, where it's first all new collector's item, and I stole the placement and design of the.
I see. Yeah.
Of the fonts and everything.
That's amazing. I love that. Dang, makes me want to go get one now.
So that was fun to do. That was
fun. Did they ever say like, did they ever think to print this actually like with that holographic layer on top? Like, because I think that'd be pretty awesome if they actually did do that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even ask. I mean, I should have asked,
Yeah,
but I
yeah, yeah.
find like, the problem with asking is people can say no. And
Sure.
then if you ask, hey, this would be great if we could print on holographic foil. It's like, well, this is issue 4 of a series, no other books. I ran that conversation in my mind. As
Uh,
quickly as it floated through my brain, it was gone. But it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I knew the 4th issue of a series with no other covers printed that way probably wasn't going to happen. And then the problem is if you put the seed of no into someone's brain, oh, we said no about the holographic images. Why is he painting it as if it's holographic? What's he trying to do? Is he trying to get something by us? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just inherently just do things and inherently push forward and not ask for.
Yeah. No, that's good.
But maybe I should have. Maybe it would have been printed that way. It would have been awesome.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think I like that. You know, you're kind of like protecting yourself from yourself.
You want to do it? I'm constantly protecting my work from no.
I love that.
Sometimes that.
I love that. I'm going to quote you on that.
Yeah, I'm constantly protecting my work from no. Sometimes that means just trying new things without asking. And sometimes that means if you know you're doing something you're not supposed to, then it had better be like as good as you can do it, and make sure they're excited about just how well you did the thing you weren't supposed to do. There's a lot of different ways to just get around that no. Sometimes it means like, oh, if I'm like the first time I digitally painted covers, it wasn't a thing at Marvel, and I knew it was something that they would probably say no to, because I didn't even have an example to show them. I just knew I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
If I had asked permission to paint an image on a computer with no sample, I'm sure they would have said no.
Yeah. They're like, why? Why would you start now? Why would you try something? Why would you risk it?
Not even that. It's just like, well, we don't do books like that. I'm like, wow. Why?
Yeah,
Do you have something you could show us? Yeah.
You're like,
next time, do a sample. Come back to us. Like I could, again, in a split second, that conversation races through your brain. You're just like, oh. So then I just did it, and I was like, oh, this better be good. So I really tried really hard.
Yeah.
To just take no, not even a component, just to share, and that's amazing. Like that's what you want. You want to just have, the yes, no, not even be a part of it. Just get rid of it.
Like instant justification. Like you want to know right away. Yeah, well, I like that.
Yeah, but I mean, if people respond to the cover, they don't care about anything. If they like it, they like it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like who cares how it was made? Yeah. The other thing I kind of like about your work too is the perspectives that you show of certain characters. I'm pretty sure I've never seen like the undercarriage of the Flash before, and this is like,
yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, this was one of the times where it happens sometimes. It happens, but it doesn't happen quite a lot. But I actually gave 3 different layouts, and like, what do you do when you draw the Flash? Everyone wants to draw the Flash running towards the reader on a cover.
Yeah, right.
And I did that, and they weren't there. I think there is actually an edict out there for Flash covers being like, we don't want him running towards the reader because it has happened so much.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like what? Yeah, it's like that's your go-to, right? Like.
Yeah.
Same thing with Wolverine. Like there's probably a thing where it says like, I don't want to have his claws up to the camera, because like what else is he supposed to do?
Yeah. So then it's like, what is a new way of representing this character that I've never seen before?
Yeah.
And I just thought speed travels in straight lines. And so I just had I'm not actually writing things down. These are just kind of weird thoughts that maybe I'm even just drawing. I'm just kind of in this zone, the Zen state. But I always believe that speed travels in straight lines. So whether it's the Quicksilver going straight across or Flash going straight up, like that's fast. Diagonal is still fast, but it's more like there's a roll, there's an embedded action, where speed is just like bullet.
Right. But yeah, but that's funny. That's interesting because, when you said like running straight up, you think that it's like a jump, but the perspective is that we're on the ground, or like he's jumping over a gap or a chasm, right? From one.
Totally.
Yeah. Because the sky's above him. So.
Yeah. In the story, in the narrative of the piece, he's leaping over us as we're.
Yeah.
In a hole or something.
Right. But it's just like, it's like a perspective, like, duh, of course that's what that would look like. It's like, it's instantly, it's like recognizable, but new at the same time.
And then to make this cover work did require a very strong backlight. Like that, again,
Yeah.
that idea of
Yeah.
interest, interest created by subject in front of knowledge. That definitely was a thing here. And
Yeah.
Flash is light. Like
Ah.
Flash is light. Like his
He is
costume is
light,
light.
like what is it? What's the word I'm thinking of? Not embodied, but like light, like defined. He's like light. He is light, right?
Speed of
Like,
light.
yeah,
Speed of light. Light's in his costume. He creates
yeah,
light sources, electricity as he moves. So it
yeah.
all led me to. And again, this
Mm.
wasn't the thought out. This was never. I don't think things out. I just do them. So
Yeah, yeah,
just like light source behind him, like as bright as it could be.
yeah.
And then one thing I do is the way I draw light sources. Often I'm creating or homaging photographically created light flares, even if they're not accurate. Like the weird part of modern age is we know light flares, but they don't exist in photography. So, but they're so now so accepted as reality that even when I'm drawing something, I'll often put a representation of a photographic light flare,
Yeah.
not an optical light flare, but like, those dots are like lens distortions that
Yeah,
they.
yeah. Well, it's nice because they look like sun drops.
Yeah.
They don't seem like rays, right? Like they look more, I don't know, something that your eye would make because it's watering because it's so bright.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a very nice backlit image. I didn't really pick up on that till just now. Like, oh yeah, the ultimate backlight is the sun.
Yes. And again, we're reaching towards the
Full
sun just like
circle.
a plant. So you're going to reach
Yeah.
towards the issue off the shelves and pick it up.
Yes. Yes.
And then here, this middle cover here, I was experimenting with some new things here. I was
Yeah.
experimenting
Yeah.
with, I knew I wanted to show him, there's only issue 6. So when I drew this issue, I don't know, maybe only one issue was out, maybe 2, maybe. But I knew his power. So I wanted to show this kind of like camo power
Yeah.
in a new way. And so I was experimenting with distortion in Photoshop and
Very cool.
this kind of like gradiated with the texture with that sort of thing. Just experiment with like, a new power you haven't seen before. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a power but you haven't quite seen it this way.
Right. Well, it's hard to depict, especially mid invisibility, right? Like it's easy to show once he's fully invisible because you can just outline him in a certain way, but like to show like as he's doing it is very tricky.
Yeah, and then why I needed the text in the background is because the bricks weren't reading enough. The bricks were just looking like weird bricks and normal bricks. But knowing like text, like we know what text,
Yes.
we know how to construct text in our mind. So now we're just sorting the text really helped with like, oh, okay, he's a form around that thing.
Yes, correct.
And then the reason why I put such visual weird gradation and not just a smooth gradation is because the weird gradation was so unnatural. Again, your mind is like, okay, it's like a manifesting, disappearing. It's like a process. It's not just shadow. It's like a
correct. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. That's a good point.
And then this last one is not one of my better.
I like to call this the booty shot.
I kind of messed up the crotch a little bit of this one, so it looks a little funky, a little weird.
It's definitely a thick character. I mean,
it's the swoop of it. It's the swoop of it.
So it is, yeah, and it's very well backlit, so all good. I just threw that in there because I thought you'd get a kick out of it.
Yeah. My failures. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we'll keep it going here. I just wanted to say that we don't have to stay on this slide for too long, but I just really enjoy some of your more cinematic covers or just images. It's very movie poster-ish, very dramatic, and only I'm not surprised that you're also into film and creating film because some of these images are very movie postery.
Yeah, I've always loved posters. I've always loved movie posters. I've always loved of course film. I always get the comment with my directing that they can see my comic book background and my directing, and they always often get the comment when I'm doing comic books, people can see my film background in my comic books. So it's like, it's a very much, I don't try to integrate them at all, but I do think it's probably just a shared aesthetic in general. Like I just like, it's just what I
Yeah.
like. So I will say this, the one on the right, the newer one, this death metal, that was me kind of like incorporating a little bit of the Drews Struzan-esque like airbrush
Yeah.
approach.
Yeah.
So I've been interested in that kind of style for a while. I've only started doing it the past few years, but like I think what it was, I was getting sick of computer generated art. And so sometimes I will layer in organic things into that art to settle it down. But then also I started jumping back and forth between practical, like maybe I paint something, scan it in, paint over it, print it out, paint over it, scan it in, and that's fun, but it takes a long time. And then at a certain point I was like, I just want to do like airbrush covers. I just want to try airbrushing. And so now I've developed some really weird,
like hybrid style.
yeah,
It's cool.
airbrush,
No, because
hybrid style stuff.
right. I mean, whatever it is you got to do to, stay inspired, and if that means, an additional several hours and doing it from computer to traditional, I think it's worth it because it looks great.
It's fun. Again, it's like, like if you're learning new things, then you will inherently push yourself a little further. Oh, here's some. Yeah, this is me taking some reference for a Darth Maul cover I did.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you were talking about your process of like using yourself as a model. But I really liked on your Instagram that you're showing some like, things you do, some of the tricks that you do to, either get reference or get lighting. Can you talk about some of your behind the scenes stuff?
Yeah, well, I'm always taking pictures of myself just to get some lighting. Again, I'm looking for those things that the things that surprise you about reality. I have photographed toys. The hard part about toys is you're photographing the artwork that someone else created. So you don't find those surprises so much in toys because another artist sculpted the thing that then you were photographing. And with wardrobe, like cloth doesn't move, like cloth moves in scale. So if you're filming a 1/12th action figure like this Darth Maul, that cloth is not moving like real cloth. But what that did, it was good inspiration for me to then look for photographic elements. And then I was able to incorporate the features of photographic reference with the lighting of the toy reference and then kind of massage them together.
Yeah.
Like if something looks too photography, people kind of have a bit of an aversion to it in a weird way.
Right. Yeah.
So they
won't necessarily know what it is. Like they wouldn't be able to explain it, but they subconsciously know that like something's off.
Yeah.
Like the uncanny valley or something.
Yeah.
And then what's the story with you and the hair dryer here?
So that's me drying some gouache. I was trying. This was for a cover from Marvel Comics 1000. So this was their older characters, the old version of Captain America and the old version of Bucky. There's the Destroyer. There's like some other characters, and I wanted to use an older method of creating art to kind of honor the time period it came from. And I had some gouache kicking around, and so I haven't had a lot of experience in working with watercolor or gouache, although I did when I was a kid. One of the first things I painted with materials was watercolor, so I kind of it's something I do. I just haven't done in a long time. And the hair dryer is just with a wet medium. Yeah, you're constantly drying as you go to speed up. Otherwise, you'll ruin it.
Yeah.
That cover turned out interesting. I want to do more of it. Like I don't quite feel like it was a success. Like I had a different result in mind when I was doing it, but it was good to get back in there with some water-based materials. So it was fun to do, but I don't think I've nailed it. I want to try another one.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just, again, I think it's just really awesome that, you're saying that you felt like you didn't nail it, but like to someone like me, it looked like you'd been using that for years. Like to just, and also to see all your other work and how different they are. It's just very impressive that you're kind of like like a jack of all trades type of thing. Like, it doesn't matter if you've had experience in something, you still do it and it still comes out like really well. It's kind of not fair, but
Well, here's what they say.
yeah,
Like, so when I'm creating art, no matter the medium, I'm actually using mostly the same approach, whether I'm painting in watercolor or painting digitally or penciling or painting. Like, it's so much of how you approach one medium can translate to the other mediums. And there's this modern idea of jack of all trades, master of none. But that's actually a miscommunication of the earlier idea when people were more self-sufficient on farms and things like that, where you had to do everything yourself.
yeah,
So it used to be, I believe, this may be wrong, but I believe the more accurate version is jack of all trades, master of one. So the idea in our modern age is that you should only do one thing really well. It's actually a new idea, and it's an idea that can only exist in our highly populated society. In the olden days, when you had to be able to take care of your kids when they were sick, fix your tractor, like wire your own barn with electricity. You really, I believe the more, like, when I learned something new in photography, that knowledge translates to painting. And when I learn something new in painting, that knowledge translates to the way I will pencil something. And when I learn something new in digital painting, that actually, I can translate to digital effects work. I could do digital effects, and if I know that, when I direct, I will direct actors in a different way. Like, I find
right,
it
because you're aware of the different processes, so you're able to like anticipate what you'll need your actors to do, so that when you're doing special effects, you've already planned that out in your head.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
one of the weird things I do when I direct is I have a lifelong fascination with visual effects. So I constantly am talking to the visual effects producers
Mm.
on a peer level that
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
will baffle my production manager or whatever,
yeah.
whoever's trying to monitor to make sure I'm not ruining their budgets. But I can actually conduct them at a very high level. And then when I edit, even on a TV show, like, you're not supposed to do this as a director, but when I'm even on a TV show, I'll constantly, like, just jam out a bunch of temp vis effect shots and put them in my edit, because I know how to do them. It'll
Yeah.
make the edit nicer. And then often a bunch of those shots make it to the final show, because if they have it, it's free. It's just,
Right, right.
I've saved them 20 grand just by
Yeah.
jamming out a few shots. So it's fun. I find art making is a holistic experience. And then if I'm doing comic books, I can use some of it, but it's not enough. So I'm constantly doing other things. And if I'm directing, it's not enough. But I find it very much like
Yeah.
one thing.
Yeah. If you do a little bit of everything, you feel like you're getting the entire experience, or, you're getting a complete experience. Yeah.
It's like cross training.
A little bit. Yep. Yep.
You want to constantly what do you call it? When you muscle confusion.
Yeah. You don't want to be stagnant or too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're only doing
Crunches.
or
yeah.
you'll experience less growth than if you're doing crunches and then planks and then burpees or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So speaking of doing a little bit of everything, I've noticed that your signature is always changing, or that you have multiple signatures. Can you talk about why?
Well, if I had more cojones, I think I would have just titled my work Kaare the entire time. But I knew, and this is just how my brain works, I knew when I first broke in that no one would ever be able to pronounce my name. Like, I had a name like Bill Sienkiewicz, just impossible to pronounce. No one would know. I had a name like Magneto, Submariner, Submariner. Like, I just knew. And then if people can't say your name, they can't remember your name. So I put Kaare Andrews as a deliberate choice to embed some recognizability, so people could always be like, Kaare Andrews. It was a strategic choice. And then at a certain point, when I just felt like I had been around enough, I just dropped down to Kaare. And I knew even if they couldn't pronounce my name, they would recognize it, because
it is very unique, just as a word. Like, it, you don't see two A's next to each other very often.
Yeah, it's basically it's an old Norwegian farmer's name. So it's
I was going to ask you about, that's awesome.
Ezekiel or something like that.
What was the proper pronunciation? You said it was like
Kura.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then my parents raised me as Kaare. That's how they say it. I don't even know where that came from. They just decided that's how they would say my name. So I've met other people with my same spelling, and they go by Corey or they'll go by Carrie. So there's no real official way to do it, but I'm Kaare. And then I started when I started doing DC covers, just recently, only the past couple of years. That was a deliberate, I had never really done anything at DC, and I wanted to expand my client base or whatever. I wanted to like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to, I always knew I wanted to at some point, but I just hadn't, I had been saving it, I guess. And that was, I didn't know, I found myself not knowing how to sign my work because I felt like it was a new thing for me and a new stage in my career. And I wanted a new signature. And that Daredevil cover to your left there, that had been, I had a stamp made at a Vancouver Granville Island market. There was a vendor there that was doing Chinese stamps for people's names, and I just thought, oh, fun, I'll do it. And then I just had it, so I started using it.
Yeah.
But when I started doing the DC thing, I thought, okay, I just want to remove all the. I want to remove. I don't. I This is a digital cover. I want to remove anything weird about the name. I want to remove any symbols. I want to remove a hand-drawn look. I just want it to be like sometimes in the past I would feel uncomfortable about being a digital artist because I knew some people thought it was a cheat, but by this point it's not anymore. And I just, in a weird way, I just was like, this is a digital cover and this is a font. Like, I just wanted to be like a simple.
Yeah. It's very statement. Clean. Yeah.
But then, if I'm hand painting something today, I'll go back and do a more loopy handwritten thing. But it doesn't matter. One of my good friends, Josh Middleton, he has stopped signing his work at all for the past few years.
Wow.
Which is
because he's a badass. Because he's like, I don't need to sign this stuff.
Yeah, people like will know. Move. Yeah, totally. Well, the other thing with Josh is like his stuff is so recognizable. So like I see Josh's stuff and I just know it immediately. He's got one of those. He's got one of those looks where even if he experiments with different mediums, it just looks like his stuff. So it's like, but I do feel like sometimes, like if I just had these three covers on a shelf that you have here, I wouldn't know the same guy. So I feel like
that's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah, I need to throw my name down in a way that's not just like performative, but in a way that's identifies to a collector.
Right. No, but I think it's also fun because in some of your covers, your signature isn't super obvious, right? It's a little more hidden, cleverly placed. And and sometimes the style is completely different, but it's nice when I do find out that it's you and like, oh my gosh, like it's for someone who enjoys your work, it's a nice treat.
Just my first name. Yeah. It's simple, it's readable, it's just there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's nice.
It might change later. I don't know.
Right. Well, it's nice that you have like options for a signature depending on the type of work. That's pretty neat. I kind of like that. Do you want to tell people where they can follow your work online?
Well, I think the best place to follow my work is Instagram these days.
Yeah.
Instagram, just my name, Kaare Andrews, and then look for me on YouTube, Kaare Andrews, as well. Just throw that in your YouTube search. Yeah. YouTube is just a supplementary fun thing that I like to do every now and then. But I throw all my new covers up on Instagram.
That's all I have, sir.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. I really enjoyed this. I'm glad that we both got to dress up and you took the time to be here. I'm super excited and privileged to have gotten to talk to you for a little bit about everything. I would like to have you back on the channel again to talk about your movie.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Filmmaking life.
Yeah, let's wait till whenever I have the next thing coming up.
Yeah,
let's jump on and give it a go.
Sounds good. All right, man. Take it easy. Thank you so much for being here. I hope I'll get to talk again soon. All right.
Peace and love.
Bye.